This video was sponsored by Squarespace, but more about them at the end of the video. So there's this word that I have an unreasonable level of hatred for. And my goal today is to introduce you to the word, ruin it for you, and make your lives worse. Let me give you some background, some context. Once upon a time, young reader Murphy noticed that there was a word that kept coming up in books, specifically fantasy and horror books for some reason, but it was coming up in almost all of them and largely used in unnecessary ways. And it's a word that I never see used out in the wild. Nobody says this word in their daily life. Don't argue with me in the comments. I'll reject what you say and just continue to believe what I choose to be real. Nobody uses this word in real life, and it comes up in fiction far more than it reasonably should for the amount that people actually use it. And it's oftentimes used in ways that I find offensive. Why do we use it? Why do we use it so often in books? So anyway, the word's undulate. I hate the word undulate. So I started complaining about it on my Patreon. Not complaining, screaming and raging. I started talking about it on my Patreon. And everybody responded with, I don't even know this word. I've never seen it before. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? And I insisted, no, it's there. It's everywhere. And they didn't believe me. So I started, every time I would read it in a book, I started coming to our Patreon server and yelling about it. And then everyone else's eyes were opened. And now we all see it. We all see the word in every book we read. It's there. So one of my mods, Noshi, daggum you, made me this shirt and sent it to me. Because he's a troll. He's a living, breathing troll. And then one of my other mods, Lynn, daggum you, and one of our members, Purple Phoenix, daggum you, got together and started compiling a spreadsheet of all the undulations. And so now our server, every time one of us reads this word in a book, we report it to the server and Lynn marks it down. So I have a spreadsheet right here. How insane is this video already? I already wonder what is wrong with me in my life. Before we get into the list of uses for this word, I should probably define it for you. So here's dictionary. To undulate is to move or go with a smooth up and down motion. Or as an adjective, having a wavy surface or edge. So my goal here is to read to you some of the most ridiculous uses of undulate in published fiction so that you will now see the word too, and it will haunt you like it haunts me. Now this list, I guess I'll say this spreadsheet currently has 140 spots filled. I'm not going to read all those. I'm just going to read through it. And I'm just going to, oh my golly, some of these have multiple offenses. I'm gonna read through it and just read to you some of the most ridiculous uses of this word. Corey, put music in to make it more dramatic. The floor undulated beneath me, pulsing, quivering. The building trembled, then undulated, then ripped apart as every nail in its frame was driven downward as if propelled by a rotary gun. We undulated against each other, which I just think is a bad choice to use that word at a... The sky had become a black wall, a living, undulating, screeching wall of feathers and claws and beaks that was descending on them like a nightmare. The princess had wrapped locks of her hair about her arms like snakes and entertained the women by undulating her arms. The tongue reacted towards her, twitching and undulating like it was trying to drag her along. An undulating wail of a siren. Smoke billowed into the room. Then the undulating sheen turned into a sheet of flames as the room's heavy plastic-lined drapes went up in flames. She laughed and arched into him, her hips undulating against him in urgent motions. When she reached his front door, she was cheered by the warm light and the soft music undulating from his open windows. Ripples of cold undulated over Harry's skin. She turned in the air, looking where blank bleep sat like a shifting, undulating thundercloud. She entered without knocking, while he was reading in bed, filling his burrow with the flutter of her long hair and her undulating arms. The vehicle was moving fast, and the undulating sound waves of the siren were an undeniable distraction. After a while, some of the others began to come around, their bodies undulating like so many big worms. Timing a blow as the shark approached her platform on their right, undulating, moving too slow for a high leap, filled with the bobbling, undulating wrecks of hundreds of ships and boats. I stand next to the sidewalk, my gaze still fixed on the two girls as they move down the Congress Street, their undulating hair. The bathroom itself seems to turn watery, the tiled walls undulating. I keep my eyes shut tight through the smell of ammonia and pine, my stomach still churning, the bed undulating beneath me. A single rain spren undulated beneath her, its form rippling and its eyes start staring straight upward toward the clouds, little feet curling and uncurling. This including harnessing up to 4 very large mandras, long flying spren with several sets of flimsy, undulating wings that had been hovering about lazily on leashes. As she passed the doorway, however, the floor undulated and she was cast to the ground. He did that in a frenzy for maybe 20 seconds before uttering an odd, undulating cry, and he hurled himself into deep shadow beyond a trash bin and vanished. Its throat was working in little, undulating motions. The way they moved, undulating back and forth while leaning backwards, made it easy to miss that they were bringing the distance between you. I don't even know what that sentence is supposed to be. Paused before the double doors and noticed the undulation of the guards' throats. Yes, meant undulating waves, magic for the future, every tale of Baba's reality. The creature tossed its head, body undulating. Her body rippled with several slow, undulating motions that drew the eye to her hips and breasts. Okay, I'm gonna quit there because I'm done now. But, you know, this is a big spreadsheet. Check it out sometime if you feel like it. There's a lot of instances there. It's usually used for landscape or for things happening in the sea, which I accept. But when it's used for stuff like hair or body movements, when it's used just to describe walls or things like that, it's a little bit harder for me to accept. When it's used in sexual instances ever, why? Or there's multiple instances on the spreadsheet that I read to you where it's just describing someone swallowing or describing sound drifting out the window, but apparently it needs to undulate out. There's so many instances of this word. This word shows up in so many books. And when it does, half the time, I just don't understand why this is the choice that was made. We have a running joke on my Patreon now that it's a requirement. An author will turn in a book and then the editor will say, "Great book. You didn't use the word though. Just pick a random spot, stick it in there. Doesn't really matter. It just needs to be in the book." It's funny because it's one of those words that you don't see until you know about it and then your life is ruined. So for some reason, my patrons have been asking me to make a video about this for a while. It's been made now. Congratulations. I hope everyone's lives is a little bit worse now because of it. Is this a word you've ever noticed before? If not, it's probably one you're gonna start noticing now. I'm sorry, but there you go. That is a video about me ranting about a word that honestly I have no business hating on the level that I do. But I do. I hate it so much. I hate this word so much and it shows up so often. I look forward to having you guys be angry at me for ruining the word for you too. Some people now love the word simply because of its excessive use and how ridiculously it's used sometimes. Actually, there was a really funny instance that's not on the spreadsheet that was in the posthumous memoirs of Brascobas, and it was something along the lines of she stood up undulating in a way I've never seen a pure woman move before. I'll put it on the screen. It was beautiful and also horrible. But I just, you know, it's a thing. It's a thing that I hate, and I have no business hating, but I do. So now you have been exposed to it. I'm sorry. And now an ad for Squarespace. I'm not sure if you heard from my last ad, but I'm a musician, and a really good one. I've been learning all kinds of instruments, and it's been great. Now I need a website so I can sell my music. And naturally, I'm going to use Squarespace because of all the features that they provide to make the website perfect for me and my needs. Like Squarespace's powerful blogging tool that allows me to share my stories, photos, videos, and updates, including audio files so people can get samples of my extraordinary work. Undulate la 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 la, undulate la 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 la, undulate la 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 la, undulate. And after you use the free trial to create your website, you can use the link in my description to get 10% off your first website or domain. So head over to Squarespace now and start creating your own website so you can be successful, like me. I'd love to continue chatting with you about it in the comments. Check out my Patreon if you would like this and more words ruined for you. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.